with racing, then you'll love the new betting brand for racing fans. With exclusive markets, promotions, insights and content. That's better. Gamble responsibly.
Welcome again to Punters Inside Run, Group 1 racing at Sandown. The next to look at is the Futurity Stakes. Small field, just the 8 runners. We've got a couple of usual suspects here from that just met. We've got I'm Thunderstruck, Mr. Brightside, Nugget. They all come out of the CF4. And we've got Alligator Blood resuming, so that's the fresh horse. So there's a story to tell there, James.
Yeah, we have seen these horses lock horns a fair bit over the last 12 months or so. Yeah, looking forward to seeing Alligator Blood and I'm Thunderstruck go at it again. That Mackay Diva was a cracker between those two. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they go on Saturday.
1,400 metres again for Mr. Brightside and I'm Thunderstruck. We know I'm Thunderstruck's probably, well, I think he's looking for that 16. Are you surprised that they stay at the 14?
No, I think it's a good way to sort of step
to build up towards the
All-Star Mile, if that's the way they're going with the horse. And it's a tried and true stepping stone, isn't it? You go from the order to the Futurity. I don't think it'll worry him. For me, he's the standout in the race, and there's a couple of others there like Alligator Blood, probably just a little bit behind the 8 ball. You know, they're playing that game of catch up now, trying to get that run under their belt, whereas I'm Thunderstruck's got one on them.
Laws of Indices is a dual acceptor if it comes down from Sydney, and also My Oberon's got some talent.
Yeah,
it does. It's a very lazy track worker and not a great trialer, which is what
we should all tip it then. Yeah. None of us are doing much track work.
Yeah, Neesham said during the week that it just doesn't put in at the trials, but then on race day it just switches on. It's a big game player, Matty, but it doesn't feature in my top 4, but it is a pretty smart horse, a bit of talent there.
It doesn't look too tricky. I reckon when we get to the tips, we're all going to be around the similar sort of ones, all coming out of that. Where did you land top 3? Yeah,
it was tough to split Alligator Blood and I'm Thunderstruck. I went with Alligator Blood just because I think he's the more straightforward horse. I think he leads. We've seen him lead, and once he controls that speed and gives a strong kick at the top of the straight,
Barrier 4 should get to the front.
He's a very hard horse to get past, and he loves a scrap. So even if he is lacking a little bit of fitness, I think he's a little bit of mongrel might just kick in the straight. I'm Thunderstruck is drawn a lot better, so drawn to be closer. That might be the key to him, and he probably lacked a little bit of fitness last time. I thought he was going to go straight past them, but just peaked on the effort. So they do look the two, but as you mentioned, Mr. Brightside was terrific last time as well.
Shark, any difference there?
Yeah, I'm with Thunderstruck. I think he can win this. I love that run first up. He just peaked that 200. He looked like he was going to charge over the top. He'll be better for the run. He can beat Nugget, number 8, who had a first crack at Wake Fraser and ran really well.
It was an excellent run, wasn't it?
Yeah, very good run. He'll be better again, and Alligator Blood next best. I'm just thinking that little fitness edge might just catch him off here today.
You wouldn't have thought that we could have another combination of the same 3, but we have. I've got Alligator Blood on top. I've got Mr. Brightside. Toss a coin between Mr. Brightside and I'm Thunderstruck. Just the fact that he's had a win on the track before. I'm Thunderstruck, will be flying home again, as we always know. But I just went with Alligator Blood because 5 of 8 at the 1,400 metres from that inside or that barrier 4 with Blake Shin. All right, we get to the Group 1 Oakleigh Plate, which is often one of the harder races of the year. Always very hard to find a winner. Markets suggest it's hard again, James.
Yeah, it's wide open. The expression they go like Oakleigh Platers, we're going to see that on Saturday. There's an extraordinary amount of speed, and there's Zoo Style and Oxley rode out wide, and then you've got the astrologist, Lombardo, Maliva, Asfoora. There's just, speed to burn. So the first 200 is going to be very interesting.
The only runner under $7.50 is Henry Dwyer's runner, Asfoora, who's won 6 from 8.
Yeah, she's going really, really well. You have a look at the depth of what she's beaten, though. Do others bring stronger winning form to this race? You can't argue the point that she's very, very fast. Yeah. When we saw her win the Fillies and Mares race down the straight, there was a bit of give in the track, but she was just way too quick for them there. She's a very slick mare, and she'll be in the race at the business centre for sure.
The Mar Eustace runner, I Am Me, shooting for 5 straight, and Jamie Carr takes the ride, which punters will take notice of.
Yeah, it was running blistering times in Sydney too. Broke 108 for 1,200. I think it might have broken the track record that day. Barrier 1 is interesting because I'm not sure Carr will want to lead necessarily, and look, she might end up, strung up in traffic, and it's not a race where you want to be caught behind a speed bump in the straight, given the size of the field. So I do have I Am Me in my numbers, but don't have her on top, but definite danger.
And before we get your tips, the Rubiton, Lofty Strike was a winner there. Is that a good form race? Because Uncommon James and Chain of Lightning also come out of that race.
Yeah, I think it will be. It was a massive win too. He was
still double-figure odds.
Yeah, I can't believe it. He's my top pick, but I think the price is there. to be enjoyed, Matthew. It's one of those rare delights where we get double figures about a very, very good colt.
Very, very, very rare delight. Let's get your top three. Dramatic effect for pause.
That was a very dramatic pause. I'm going with Asfoora. Just think she's been set for this race since she won the Caulfield Sprint back in October. Henry Dwyer put this race on the agenda back then. 2 from 2 fresh. Jump outs have been outstanding. Last 5 winners have carried 54, 50, 53, 52 and 52. So she's right in that sweet spot. I think this is her race, but Lofty Strike is absolutely the value in the race. So little 2-horse play for me, Matty.
Your top 3?
Do you like oysters, Matty?
I do, especially when they're from Port Lincoln, when they're just fresh Coffin Bay oysters.
There's an oyster called a Royal Miyagi, and that is absolutely...
They're the big ones,
It is the rare delight of the oyster world.
Okay.
And I think Lofty Strike...
Do you have to address the oyster as Mr.?
You do, yeah, you must. And you have to catch a fly with the chopsticks before you eat it. But it is worth the effort, let me tell you. Lofty Strike is the rare delight of the Oakleigh Plate. He'll be winning this race. Rockin' Horse. She's a super mare.
30s?
And you're copping 30 to 1. I know she had a little
Would have
setback
liked her to go around last week.
But she turns up here. I can't see how she's a 30 to 1 chance in this race. Asfoora next best.
I'm totally different, as we'd expect in an Oakleigh Plate. I'm going with Chain of Lightning out of the Rubiton. Just like the way that just hit the line, just found a little bit towards the end, gets a couple of kilos on Lofty Strike. I've gone with a couple down the bottom at the low weights, which you referenced at 52 kilos in Star Patrol. I reckon deserves a crack at this level. Really flying, can run quick time. And I Am Me, as you mentioned also there, another lightweight at just 52 kilos. All right, difficult race, but we move on to what you've all been waiting for, and that's James Lamb's best bet, next best and value bet at Sandown.
Yes, look, this is going to be interesting this week because I did notice that Shark's best bet goes around in the same race.
Ooh.
So,
saw that, yeah.
Yes, I'm going with race 4, number 4, Spacewalk. I think Rich Fortune is the danger. I just think Spacewalk is going to get the right run in transit. Wide and keen over 1200 last start. Looked a little bit vulnerable, but really gave a strong kick and was good through the line. Ran decent time there as well. Stays at 1200, third up. Had a little trial to keep him ticking over and beat Marzu in that trial. So he's going along very nicely indeed. Car rides from a soft draw. Form around some nice horses last prep as well. Buenos Noches being one of those. So I think Spacewalk on a tough card is the best bet around that sort of $3 quote.
Your next best and your value?
Next best, I was going to say Right You Are, but it could be $1.70 by the time Saturday comes around, but I think it wins. One for your sort of multi-players out there, a stocking filler. Value bet race 5, number 8, Osbred Rising Sun. It's a horse coming down from Sydney. It's probably the new kid on the staying scene a little bit. You see horses like Mr. Maestro and those types who have been racing against each other and mixing it up a little bit. I think this horse is a pretty progressive stayer. Could easily be 3 from 3. It's one loss. It was beaten by a head or something, and they spaced the rest. Looks a nice horse. Nice closing sectionals last time. Willow takes the ride, so positive jockey booking for a horse. Jockey who really knows this track well. So yeah, Osbred Rising Sun. I think it's a good each way play. We missed the early odds. It went right off early, which is generally a good sign. But yeah, keen on that horse.
Yeah, we've seen a few last week. Even a couple came down from Sydney to win. Shark, your best and your value.
Race 4, number 3, Rich Fortune, Matty, taking on Spacewalk. Yeah, Rich Fortune. She did the right thing by us as the value pick the other week at $15. She'll be winning the Zetative, and it'll be Royal Miyagi's all round at Shark Towers. Lofty Strike in race 9. It's the best value. $10 about a very, very good colt. Just take that.
My best bet was purely a process of elimination in race 6. I kept finding horses that couldn't win it. So I just ended up with Emissary first up. Won the Heatherly first up over 1700. Won a trial over the 1450. Will be ready to go. I think it's a real skinny race. My value bet comes out of the same race, race 4. Meridius, first up for Lloyd Kennywell. I think it's got a real turn of foot. I think it's a talented horse, so hopefully things go right. First up, race 4, number 5, Meridius. Lammy, you can just head to the interchange bench because you've got to come back for the perk and the perm.
Yeah, the quaddie will be interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
3 Group 1s and a Group 2. It will be interesting. James Lamb will join us again shortly, but next, can In Secret and Animo did what they did a couple of weeks ago and win big races? We'll find out.
Racing, then you'll love the new betting brand for racing fans. With exclusive markets, promotions, insights and content. That's better. Gamble responsibly.